Police in Toronto, Canada are asking people to please stop calling 911 if they suspect someone smoking marijuana. Recreational use of marijuana became legal across most of the country yesterday. Toronto police just tweeted these words of wisdom, quote, asking for directions because you're lost is not a 911 call. Reporting an adult smoking a joint isn't either. Meanwhile, police in Canada, in Winnipeg, Canada, are reminding people that smoking weed in your car is a no-no. Also not cheap. Here's a ticket someone got for $672 Canadian. As far as actually driving while high, well, that too is illegal. The Canadian government has introduced legislation that would force drivers to take roadside sobriety tests and submit saliva samples to test for pot. A new study here in the United States, meanwhile, has found a rise in car accidents in some of the states where recreational marijuana is legal. Research from a pair of highway safety groups found crashes are up 6% in Colorado, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington. Now, that's compared to states where recreational pot is illegal. Now, we really need to note that the study does not indicate which, if any, of the drivers in those crashes were stoned. But we thought this is a good time for a conversation about it all. Joining me now is a DUI attorney, Craig Sturm, specializing in marijuana cases. Has your business increased since things became recreational here in California?
A little bit, Michaela, and thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. Results of this study surprise you? Or do you refute them?
I do refute them. I think what they're doing, they're definitely conflating a lot of different things that could be found in blood and doesn't really tell us what the average person, whether they're under the influence of marijuana or not at the time of driving. And I was discussing a quote from the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration earlier from an article that they released last year. And it says that they find that drivers with marijuana are significantly lower risk for a crash than drivers who use alcohol. And after adjusting for age, gender, race, and alcohol use, drivers who tested positive for marijuana were no more likely to crash than who had used any drugs or alcohol prior to driving.
So I think it probably mirrors what most people would say is that, you know, a drunk driver is far more dangerous than somebody who's high on marijuana.
100%. 100%.
So talk about the fact that it is illegal, though, in all 50 states at this point. But it's kind of the science is not really clear at this point or thorough in determining who is high. They don't have the same kind of roadside testing technology as they do for drinking and driving, correct?
That's correct, and especially when we're on the side of the road giving people field sobriety tests. Those field sobriety tests are specifically designed for alcohol. Have nothing to do with marijuana. Alcohol is a central nervous system depressant. Nothing to do with marijuana. And what we're doing, we're giving them the same tests, which tells us nothing. We don't have the clues. We don't have the know-how.
So what do law enforcement people here in California, at least, what do they do to try and figure out if somebody's stoned?
They give the same tests. They do what we call a drug recognition evaluation, which really isn't going to tell us if somebody is high at the time of driving. And then, of course, they correlate that with blood tests.
And how does marijuana stay in the blood system?
When you have a blood test and you test positive for THC, whether it's the psychoactive drug or just the carboxy, which is the non-psychoactive part, it can be in your system for at least 3 to 4 months.
Oh, my.
So what a positive test for marijuana tells us, some point in the last 4 months,
you've smoked marijuana. You may not be high in that moment, but you might have taken an edible 3-4 months ago.
Exactly.
So that's where somebody like you comes in.
Exactly, and that's the problem of having a per se number saying everybody like Colorado, 5 milligrams is over the legal limit. That means if you're a regular smoker of marijuana, you are always 5 grams. You are always going to be driving over the legal limit when you are not impaired.
So your best advice for somebody?
Do not smoke, obviously, and drive under the influence of marijuana.
Right.
And obviously, if that happens, call an attorney to obviously you want to fight the case because they're definitely defensible because we just don't have the techniques yet to determine high or impaired for driving at the time of driving.
Likely that technology
like we do for alcohol.
Right. Likely that technology is in the pipeline, though, because I know a lot of people are interested in getting it so they can clear themselves for sure. Thank you so much, Craig Sturm.
My
really
pleasure.
Pleasure to meet you. Thanks for
Michaela.
coming in. Appreciate it.